It's over. It was a 9-2 shellacking by the Edmonton Oilers. They even said on their Oilers broadcast they were winning by a touchdown. I feel like that just adds insult to injury. We'll talk about all that and more after this. But first, if you want to be a part of this show, and I don't know why you would, chat with us and fellow Sharks fans on the page or the app. You can follow us or not. I don't care at this point. On YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Reddit, Discord, TikTok. And, we have a website thing, tealtownusa.com. Go check it out. And at Venmo, again, I don't know why you would want to support anything at this point at Teal Town USA over on the Venmo. And I mean, hi, Ian. How are you doing, bud?
I'm sitting in the dark because I'm severely concussed. But yeah, so this was just what the doctor ordered.
It's fitting, right? I mean, I feel like I should be wearing all black, and be ready for the funeral pyre and ready to throw the carcass that is the San Jose Sharks onto it. Because that was 60 minutes of something.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, right? I'm glad that I wasn't on the show the last game that Cooley played. And before people think that I'm gonna dunk on Cooley, I'm not. Put your pitchforks away for a second and just relax. Because I think if you watch this game, I think of maybe I don't know how many goals he let in. Was it 7? I think you could maybe generously put 3 on him. But I thought like a lot of the reactions to Cooley's big win there. Actually, he played a really good game, but to me it was more of an every dog has his day type of thing than oh my god, the future. So I'm glad I wasn't on last show because I think a lot of people have been really angry at me, and I think people might get angry at me on this show, but I think there's probably a lot more that would have, be angry at a lot more things than just me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I even ended the cast with, hey, goalies are black magic, and you just don't know what you have from start to start until you put consistency together, right? And,
yeah.
And you're just a guy until you start to, really prove that you're not just a guy in net.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like I would not be upset if they brought Cooley back next year to be kind of like because I think the one thing that the Barracuda kind of screwed up on this year was you had Makiniemi, who's had injury problems, and he's been a guy he's had injury problems, but he's the only guy that really had a bunch of, like, I wouldn't even say a bunch. He had more obviously pro experience than any of the other goalies. The other goalies are all first year pros. So, like, if Logan Cooley came back next year and he was kind of like that third guy, a guy who could come up and eat starts in the case of an injury or something like that, I don't hate that idea, right? As long as he doesn't take too many games away from Georgi Romanov and Magnus Corona, who I think Magnus Corona, like, for the Barracuda next year, it's going to be Corona's net and it's going to be up to everyone else to try and take it from him. So I don't hate that idea of like bringing Cooley back for a role like that, because I think the one thing that the Sharks kind of screwed up this year, well, among the many things they screwed up this year, was not really having a veteran guy that could come in and play games. I think when I've said this before too, like when Magnus Corona played earlier in the season when he played against Edmonton, like his game in the AHL, like it's come a long way. And like I said, it should be his net at this point. But at that point, he really hadn't found his game in the AHL. And then they brought him up to the NHL and had to figure it out for for him, trying to find a pro game when you couldn't find it at the level below the NHL. So I think look at Cooley's been a great story in a season that hasn't really had much in the way of good stories. But yeah, I'm kind of, I think the oh my God, why isn't this guy signed yet? Should probably stop now and things should go back to normal.
Yeah. No, again, you you're just a guy until you can string together some wins, and of his couple of starts, a couple have looked really bad. And look, I'm not saying that again all of it was on him, but
No, I think like I said, you could pin maybe 3 goals, and I think 3 goals is generous on him. Like the team in front of him was absolute dog shit.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not gonna even break down the goals because it's just like why even. But I mean, literally, like the first period was just you knew it was that kind of a night when they got scored on in the first minute of the game, and Connor McDavid does the 100 point thing. Yeah, okay, whoopity for
100
you.
assists.
Yeah. 100
Not even
assists,
100 points, 100 assists.
100
Just
assists.
stupid.
No, I mean, look, 132 points. That's
Yeah.
freaking amazing. But it's just, I'm just so dejected at this point. So anyhow, Gushkin gets his first goal of the season. Thomas Bortolo gets an assist. That comes at 158.
Lucky goal for Goosh, but it was nice to see. Like, look at I don't hate. Like, we knew that this game was going to be a rough game. Like, you're playing against a potent Edmonton team. Connor McDavid comes back into the lineup after I think missing his last 4, which when you look at the guys that were missing from the lineup tonight, it's like their goalies for the remainder of the season are going to be Logan Cooley and Georgi Romanov, who I thought like Romanov came in. And I think he played good, but I also think that I don't want to take anything away from what Georgi Romanov did in the third period, but at the same time, like Edmonton's not going to continue going all up by 8 when the playoffs are around the corner, right? Like at this point, you just want to make sure you don't get injured in a stupid game like this.
Yeah. And only goal in the third period would be Fabian Zetterlund. Kind of interesting. Sharks make it 2-2 forever. Eklund and Granlund getting the assists, and that would be it. The Sharks go out with a whimper, and Edmonton continues on, and we'll see. They could challenge for the tops in the division if things go their way. But very interesting to see this Edmonton team start to gear up for, right now, looks like a battle with LA. Could be something different if they do win the division. But, I think I might like to see them for a third year. And maybe we finally get some of that animosity that, the old-timers say was in the old divisions because you just saw your opponents so many times.
Yeah.
We'll see. See if there's some fireworks. I mean, the LA team, I'll give them they're scrappy, and
that's scrap. I mean, that should be. I don't know if I don't think it's going to be a good playoff series because it would be the best hockey per se. But like the Kings have the Oilers have ended the Kings playoff aspirations so many games in a row, like so many years in a row now that I think just based on that, I think it's going to be a fun playoff series if that's the way it goes down because again if you have a team that's had your number like the way that the Oilers have had the Kings, like that breeds some pretty good animosity. I think I think Sharks fans can, if you go back not too long ago, it feels like an eternity now, but that year that the year like 2016 when we finally beat the Kings and then went on to this Stanley Cup playoffs, like you know what I mean, like I think it could be interesting if the Kings could pull an upset there. Like I just wonder what that does for that group.
Yeah, I mean that could galvanize that group to do something kind of interesting. See if they could, make some noise in later rounds. I don't know that it's ready yet. I think it still needs one more year of maturation. But AJ, thank you for the quotes in the locker room after the game. Appreciate it. I'll get some of them up if I see any of value at this point. But I mean, what can these guys say that will change anybody's mind about what happened?
I mean, this was a shit effort tonight, and again, I think that the talent discrepancy is obviously was on display here again. You had a couple of guys playing. You know, I think Thompson, I think this was maybe his 4th NHL game. You know, Gushkin, I think this is his 5th NHL game. He's got 4 points in 5 games. As an NHL player, I think that's pretty good. But you know, a lot of these guys playing in key spots were playing. We have minimal NHL experience, and then you have to go up and, you know, if you're Jack Thompson, you have to go and your first your first assignment is Connor McDavid. Like, welcome to the bigs, kid. Yeah. You know, like, I think a lot of these guys looked really bad, and I think that there's going to be some people out there who are going to be like, oh, this is the future, like, this is bad. But I think, man, it's one thing to play in the AHL. It's another thing to come in and, you know, play your first game of the season against Connor McDavid, and that being your assignment as a as a defenseman with obviously not a rookie defenseman, but a defenseman with very little NHL experience, and most of your experience being in the AHL.
Yeah, a good quote that we pulled up. If I was in Cooley's shoes, I wouldn't want to hear anything. None of those were his fault. Maybe we just give him space. He's a great goalie, but we didn't give him a chance tonight. And he says he wishes he knew the answer to why the Sharks, or how the Sharks stop playing these type of games. And we'll see what Quinn has to say. But, I mean, what more can he say? I mean, he's yeah. I mean, he's at his wit's end. He doesn't want this to happen as much as we don't want it to happen, but I'm happy that, like, obviously, like, the guys are coming out to stick up for Cooley. I think that's good. Obviously, that's what you want to see. I think if guys have a bad game, like the way they did, like, you want to see them come up and stick up for Cooley the way they are, and I think that's just that's positive, at least. I'm grasping at straws here, I know, but, like, that's I'm glad that they're all coming out and saying, like, this wasn't on Cooley, which is true. It wasn't. It absolutely wasn't. Well, I'm kind of being a shit host right now, because it's just like I have no clue what the hell to say anymore. It's like after this, I'm just thankful that this is my last show for the season. I don't have to put up with this garbage anymore.
I have one more.
Yeah, sweet freedom after this, man, because I'm all ready to get my heart broken with baseball. But seriously, yeah. Look, it's we're in the crater. We're in the crater right now, and I hope everything from here is up. Yeah, but I could see this shit show getting worse, or at least here's next year.
It's funny because obviously, like, when you look at situations like, so you look at things and, like, not only what's happened but what hasn't happened, right? And I think kind of this also Luke Johnson in the chat kind of making a comment along these lines too. Like, you're seeing a lot of other teams where you're seeing a lot of, like, their junior guys or their college guys, have signed. Like Cutter Gauthier signed in Anaheim, and Frank Nazar signed in, is it Nazar? I always get that wrong. He signed in Chicago. Yeah. But Will Smith hasn't signed. So
fuck no, I don't want him touching this organization.
No, I know. I know what you mean, but you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, if you're looking for things to get better next year, like, you'd think that if Will Smith was going to sign, he would want to sign now to get rid, like, because a lot of these college guys, what you do to get them to sign is you sign them at the end of the season when you have a couple of games left, and you burn that first year of their ELC. And the Sharks hasn't done that, which kind of leads me to believe that he's probably not coming next year.
No. Plus, why the fuck would he? look, I mean, if his buddy gets drafted by the team, then maybe they come together. But I just at this point the air of stink is apparent upon this team, and God bless William Eklund and Thomas Bordelot, but I don't know how they survive through the rest of this rebuild and be part of the team and not have some serious developmental issues because of just the lack of defensive awareness that the team plays with them. You know what I mean? Like they've been so used. It kind of reminds me of the Oilers before they started going to the playoffs, right? Where they had accumulation of talent, but they just didn't do anything with it. And you hate to see, the ripe tomatoes go rotten on the vine, but I just, how do you put a winning organization and winning hockey together around these kids when you've got efforts like that tonight? And
I mean, a lot of teams though, like that kind of go through this process. We've seen some, I mean, the Sharks are pretty historically bad. We don't know, obviously, like the season that COVID cut short, like that Detroit team was pretty brutal, and they're in a dogfight to make the playoffs this year, but they're definitely on the upswing again. I mean, this is unfortunate. It's part of the process, right? Like this just the problem is I don't know if this is rock bottom for the Sharks. I'm
totally right there with you. I think
like
it could
I
be
don't
worse.
know if this season's rock bottom. Is rock bottom still to come?
And I quite frankly don't know if Greer's the right person to pull it out. I know
if it's so early though. Like again, like
I know we are only 2 years into the Greer regime, right?
Yeah.
2 drafts in, and that's unfair to do that.
Yeah,
but I don't know that he's shown me enough to give me confidence in the next 2 years, is what I'm trying to say.
Sure, but I mean, I don't think there would be. How do I word this? I don't think that there is enough, that there's just been enough time to really get one way or another, like a good feel on this thing. I think it's going to take it's one of those things where unfortunately we need the time to really gauge where this thing is at. I mean, that's just the reality of it, right? If you look at what they have like so far, I think that, Mike Greer's last 2 drafts, I haven't hated them, I've kind of liked the way that they've gone. I think that I like the emphasis on size. I get concerned that we're going to get too much emphasis on size though. That concerns me a little bit. But like Greer's done a lot of good things so far. Now, I think Greer has, I think this summer is going to be really telling in a lot of ways, right?
No, I think
we have a draft lottery coming up.
His most pivotal off season, I think, of his career as far as being the Sharks GM is this year.
Yeah, I think this summer is going to be the most telling, because obviously we have a draft lottery coming up, which is going to determine whether the Sharks are going to get the opportunity to draft Macklin Celebrini. That's out of Greer's hands. Like Greer can't do anything about that. Yeah. It's a lottery. But I would also say that, there is a really awful team that plays in a little arena called Tech CU that is going to need some attention this summer. And I think I will have a lot of judgment on Mike Greer based on what happens with the Barracuda this summer, because I think that there's changes that need to be made there.
If he keeps John McCarthy as head coach next year, I'm going to have some real questions about his ability to make non-emotional judgments, because so far, I mean, we've seen the old guard kind of sniff around the team and have his ear.
Yeah,
and
but I think Mike Greer's also done a good job of kind of dealing with that too. Like for a long time, Evgeny Nabokov was the voice for goaltending, and now They bring in Ryan Miller. I can't remember the other guy's name. That they brought in, and I think that goaltending was kind of like, it wasn't obviously like a super strength because the both teams are where they are, but Magnus Corona rounded into form really nice. I think Georgi Romanov, I don't think he started the season as strong as he finished it in the AHL, but Georgi Romanov, when the season started, was the only reason the Barracuda looked remotely respectable in some games until Magnus Corona kind of got it sorted out. Mackenzie Blackwood I thought he had a good year. Capo Kakinen, when he was here, had a pretty solid year. After the year before where he wasn't very good at all. Thomas Spear. Thank you guys.
Thomas Spear.
So there's definitely been things that Mike Grier has done that I liked. He had to come in, he had to move out a bunch of contracts. I think that has gone okay. I think we're gonna look back at that Brent Burns trade and probably make stink face for a long time about that one. But that was I think one of the first trades he made as an NHL GM. So I will probably give them. But I think the Timo Meier trades turned out pretty good so far. The Erik Karlsson trade so far has been pretty good. There's definitely been, I think there's been more positives than negatives with Mike Grier so far. But again, it's one of those things where, this thing just started 2 years ago. We're just at the start of it.
Yeah, I know. And
we're not even at the build it up.
Yeah. And that's the scary part, is that because of the lack of awareness by the previous regime, and because or the lack of facing reality, it just they just continue to kick and scream and close their ears and close their eyes to the fact that the core was starting to age out and there wasn't really a good succession plan to come in behind them. We're reaping that, and you could have argued that the teardown should have happened 2 years earlier from when it did. But again, previous regime.
That's previous regime. You can't really we can be mad about it, and we can grouse about how we got here, and we do that a lot on this show. But
I guess I'm just looking from a fan's perspective, right? That's 2 lame duck years of Wilson plus the two horrible downward trajectory years from Grier, and we're saying, okay, maybe we might start to crater out in year 3, maybe start to make the pivot to flatlining at some point. But we're even saying we're still probably on the backwards end of that curve and not come back on the other side of it yet. So
I think that I don't have right now I don't have a lot of hope for next year being that much better. But I feel after next year, then I think once you're going to have guys that are going to obviously start graduating to pro hockey, then that's when the upswing has to start, in my opinion, anyway. If we don't start seeing an upswing in year 4, then we're in trouble.
Yeah. AJ, I'd bet the Sharks are the only team that has no forwards making more than $5 million. No talent yields these results. Yep.
100%. This team was designed to be bad. Let's not make bones about it. This team wasn't constructed to be good.
No, it was not.
This team was constructed to bottom out, and again, I think now obviously, Logan Couture having his injury, and I don't think that was foreseen by anybody. I don't think they planned for that. I don't think this was a master stroke by Mike Grier to have Logan Couture end up down as bad as he's been down this year. But again, that was kind of a happy accident for him. But then again, you turn around, you trade Tomas Hertl, Erik Karlsson goes out in the summer, and Brent Burns goes out before that, and Timo Meier goes out. I'm not mad at the results because this is exactly what we were expecting.
Oh, it is. It is. It's just it's difficult to watch your team be gutted in real time and to show basically zero fight and really do a great job of keeling over. I mean, they set out, this team was built to tank and it set out to do that. So it set out to do that, and it did that, and it did it in pretty epic fashion. It's going to have one of the worst goal differentials ever since it was tracked.
I think not since it was tracked, but I think in the salary cap era, it's probably the worst that it's ever been.
Yeah. And, for those who weren't around the first time, at least there was an air of, hey, this team is kind of up and coming, and you still had a little bit of the honeymoon of, getting a team in the 90s. But,
sure.
But right now, I mean, it really sucks to be a Sharks fan.
Yeah, I mean, like Purdy's saying, like, do we want Couture back? Like, here, we don't have, like, again, like, things like the things in our control, things out of our control, right? We don't have, like, no one's taking on, like, look at Arizona's moving to Utah. They're not laundering money for the league anymore.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
The best
there's
possible
for him
outcome.
to go.
Yeah, the best possible outcome for Couture is this: is that he does a silent retirement. Basically says, "Look, you guys trade me to whoever needs some cap savings. You know who that's going to be? It's going to be a blue and white team. And needing to play the LTIR game and." If the Sharks extract any value out of that contract, it'll be for, helping a team get under their cap. If not,
but there's a lot of assumptions being made there, right?
Right,
like
right.
He's done.
But if he does come back and he tries to do this again, there's no guarantee of what player you will get back. I mean, we all saw Ryan Kessler at the end of his days with his back injuries and was a shell of his former self.
Sure.
So,
Tonsky asking in the chat, how are our draft picks from New Jersey and Pittsburgh looking? So our pick from New Jersey is a second-round pick because they are not going to make the playoffs, which means they cannot progress in the playoffs and turn that pick into a first-round pick. The Pittsburgh pick is still in the first round. It's fine. And pretty much the only way I can see Pittsburgh not parting ways with it is if right now they'd have to give it to us because it's not in the top 10. So unless they won the lottery and moved up 10 spaces, we're going to be picking with Pittsburgh's pick in the first round there. So,
yeah. And people asking, what can we do to go sign defensemen or whatever? I don't delude yourself, people. I mean, there's not one or two signings out there that's going to magically fix this shit blue line. I mean, you could put the second coming of Bobby Orr on this effort and would not go anywhere.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is like, and again, I've been always like of the mind that you just don't want to like throw all the kids out there without any cushion or anything, but you don't want to sign so many guys that you can't get a guy like Shakir Mukhamadullin into the lineup because you've signed too many dumb 4th, 5th, 6th defensemen to play all the defensive positions. Like you do want to leave a spot, like not leave a spot. Like you don't want to give, again, you don't want anyone to just be given anything, but you want to have room for someone to be able to earn that job out of camp.
Yeah. But you'd have to have a modicum of talent in front of them. And at this point, there is none of that, so it's like at this point, the Sharks are just hoping for healthy bodies.
Yeah. I mean, again, like I think you've got a lot of guys.
Ricky, thank you so much. Now our defense is getting Benning back. That's all we need. All-star Matt Benning right there. All-star Matt Benning. Woo!
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the summer on the blue line. Earlier in the show there was a lot of talk about Kalen Addison, and I think like Kalen Addison doesn't really upset. Like I don't think he should be back. Like I'm not trying to say like this is not me advocating for Kalen Addison. I think it was a good swing though. Like I don't hate the swing. It just didn't work out, and it's fine. Like, I think when they went out and got him, they didn't have any offense from the blue line, and they tried to address that with I think they threw a pick to Minnesota to get Kalen Addison. It didn't work out. It's fine. I admire the swing.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same swing that they did for a guy like Oscar Lindblom, right? I mean, they thought,
Yeah.
hopefully a guy who could regain some form, good story, try to give him another
Yeah.
home and give him another shot and see what he could do. And, Kalen, I think what sucks is there was some hype around him as far as what he could be. But at this point, I mean, there's a reason why Minnesota was willing to trade him.
Yeah, I think Kalen Addison's a guy like I would be more distraught if they brought him back. I think like Ricky said in the chat, like getting a season out of a 5th round pick is pretty good, right? Like,
yeah,
it didn't work out, but it was a worthwhile swing to take. And like, that's the thing, right? I think it's going to be one of those things where you're going to take a lot of swings and not all of them are going to work. Like, no GM out there hits bats 1,000.
Yeah, Sharks Oregon. I'm just laughing at this. So resign?
No, absolutely not.
Well, it depends on what the Sharks are trying to do, right? If they're trying to go for first overall again next year.
No, I just think I don't think he adds any value, and he's not like, I don't think he's been, as the season progressed, like he kind of had trouble getting into the lineup. But he's
suffering from Kevin LeBlanc syndrome.
A little bit, but those guys are taking spots.
Right.
Right, you're taking spots away from someone else who could be fighting for that roster spot.
No. Yeah. Luke Johnson, I hope we take on some big contracts this summer for picks. Not a bad
could
way.
Happen.
Some picks if we're gonna suck for another 2 more years. I mean, 2 more years at least. I mean,
it could happen. Like, here's the thing, right? The problem this summer is that for the first time in a long time, the cap's actually going to go up. So I don't know how easy it's going to be to weapon. Like, it would have been a lot easier to weaponize cap space had the Sharks come to the conclusion they were bad way quicker than they did.
Yeah.
Yep. do we sign Jacob McDonald? I mean, he's an elite forward. What can I say? You probably bring that guy back. It's hard to find elite forwards. Jacob, I think there's a guy like who's probably taking a spot. Like, I would rather, again, like, you have Jacob McDonald playing forward because you don't want to put him on waivers or whatever, and then like a guy like Daniil Gushkin can't get a call up. You know what I mean? Like I don't hate Jacob McDonald. I just think, he's fine. Like, he doesn't offend me as a player. I just think the Sharks have a lot of that guy.
Oh, I totally agree. I totally agree. Oh,
they have a lot of that guy.
They do. Well, I'm tired about talking about this team. I'm tired. I'm tired about the shit, dude. I'm done. I'm glad the off season's here because I'm ready to kick it. And God, we're gonna be in for another roller coaster ride next year.
Well, I mean, we got a couple of roller coasters coming up, right? Got the draft lottery coming up. That's going to be a roller coaster. The Sharks have obviously secured the best chances to draft Celebrini, but nothing's a given. I'm not as negative as some people are who think that we've already lost this thing. And look at, honestly though, like, if you're not following this Eastern Conference playoff race, man, you've been missing out. Like, it's been interesting because it goes from like none of the teams wanting it. It's like, nah, you go. I'm good. It's like, and now tonight, when with the season winding down, I think all the teams that played that were in the race won tonight. So that was fun. Like, especially like a team like Detroit, who was down 4-2, they come back and win. Like, there's some fun stuff happening. You just have to expand your horizons beyond the Sharks.
Mm-hmm. No, I and you guys have always known that I've had a hard time doing that because it's just I get so invested in it, and it's just it's hard to watch hockey when your team's not playing. But there is some really, really compelling races, and I mean that 3-way tie sitting at the bottom of the Metro is just, or two ties, and there was some jockeying. It's really interesting. So yeah, go watch some Eastern Conference hockey. You know, get yourself uh, rinsed of this filth that is the Sharks. Okay, Ian, is there any one race that you're looking forward to in the East, kind of like concluding up, or are you looking towards a matchup that you think is most intriguing? What's your final couple storylines here for the end of the
I
season?
mean, obviously, like so for the Eastern Conference playoffs, if the Washington Capitals win, I believe they play tomorrow. If they win, they're in. But again, like every time like you expect like, oh, the team just has to win these games and they'll be fine. Um, they seem to blow it. Now, I think they're playing the Flyers, who are also like who desperately need these points too, because they're one of the other teams in the mix. So I think that's going to be a fun game. I'm looking forward to that to see if Washington wins, then it's all over. They're in. The Islanders are the other team that made it in the East, which is a crazy turnaround that they've had. And then actually, once you get to the playoffs themselves, I think there's like a couple of matchups that are interesting, but I want to kind of see how it all ends up being done.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. There's a couple ex-Sharks that you might want to be rooting for too, so we'll see. And in case you missed it and you want to check us out again, although I don't know why you would want to rewatch any of these horror shows, just smash the like and subscribe button and hit the bell icon. Although we've only got one show left, so and I guess it'll alert you for like when we do draft day coverage and all of that stuff, and get our hearts broken there.
It's not over. Like it's just like the season might be over. After Dark's may be over, but it's not over. Like we're gonna do coverage like we do the draft.
No,
we'll have coverage of the draft, and we'll have other nonsense that happens, I'm sure.
Yeah, you could check it out on your podcatcher of choice, that being the Apple Podcast, whatever Google's calling their music store now, the YouTube Rewind, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeart, the Odyssey app, and then, of course, always on tealtownusa.com. Ian, thank you for putting up with me today.
Yeah, no worries.
It is... I don't even know what to say anymore.
It's been a year.
It's been a year, dude. It's been a year, and I thank you for riding shotgun and driving this thing, during the season. And I mean, honestly, I couldn't do it without my co-hosts, and like you guys keep me going through this. Because I couldn't. I honestly, I don't know. I could sit and riff for 30 some odd minutes about what product we're seeing, and that's kind of my final thoughts for the season. I'm just thankful for my co-hosts. Ian, what are your final thoughts on where the people can find you?
When the Sharks do bad, it's good, but maybe it's not even good anymore. Like, this sucked. What a waste of time this game was.
Dude, I mean, that's why I'm so dejected. I mean, I couldn't believe we topped out at like 60 viewers. I'm like, wow, just rambling about nothing and 60 people want to watch us.
I mean, I hope that people weren't expecting me to be like really angry, because like I have been all out of anger for this team a long time ago.
Yeah. I mean, I was angry, and then I'm just like, I just gave in, just
well, I mean,
in.
It's like I said, like this game sucks because like everything's all set, right? Like we're at this point, the best odds at the draft lottery are locked up. We're just basically running out the clock at this point. So I mean, like at least the least they could do is try to be entertaining. But I think, like again, I don't think I don't think everything's all bad. Like I think this is necessary pain to get to where they need to go. And I'm hoping I choose to be hopeful for better things down the road. I choose to be hopeful that, the Sharks do get Macklin Celebrini this summer, and, and have that piece that you can really, that where the rebuild has like a solid piece to build around. Because I think not getting that pick, and I understand people being pessimistic about it or whatever, but like, it's harder. It's a lot harder to build a team when you're picking, not first overall. And teams have done it, like other teams have not won the lottery and have still managed to pull themselves out of this shit. But it's a lot easier when you get that guy.
Yep. Well, I don't think truer words could have been said, Ian. Thank you so much again. And you can find him at Ian Block's Hockey on the X Machine. As far as where you can find me, you can use my first name. That's ERIK, last name LANDI, across all of the social media garbage. And you know how we like to end it. So everybody here at Teal Town, we love to keep it real, to keep it teal, and to keep it real, Teal. And we will see you after the final game in Calgary. Oh, puck guy, may the wind be with you.